The development agency Kagiso Trust, Boichoko Ditlake, says they have continued with preparations.
I don't think there is a slightest impact. And I must say, over the last 4 days, so much was done compared to the past several months. That I can state as a matter of fact. And hence our confidence that we will hand this process to South Africans on Friday and Saturday.
The DA has unveiled a series of reforms to transformation policies, most of which are aimed at strengthening state-owned entities. During a media briefing in Johannesburg today, the party presented its alternatives to BBEE, the Employment Equity Act and the Expropriation Act. While stressing that it's not against redress and transformation, the DA argues that these three laws are counterproductive. Party leader John Steenhuisen says fixing the public sector is key to alleviate these policies.
The fifth reform of the sixth is one that is close to, I'm sure, everybody's feelings, and that is fixing local government. Coalition chaos, corruption, and collapsed service delivery cannot continue. And we're championing a new law to stabilize local councils. This bill will set minimum thresholds for political parties to get a seat in council.
Steenhuisen says another reform and alternative to transformative policies is getting the basic rights.
Secondly, no economy can grow without access to cheap, reliable electricity. And we need to fix this energy crisis in South Africa once and for all by breaking Eskom's monopoly of electricity generation, by creating a truly competitive energy market.
Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie says he won't be quitting his job over false racism allegations. McKenzie says while he's angered and humiliated by the false claims, he will subject himself to any investigation to prove otherwise. The Patriotic Alliance leader has been facing backlash after announcing last week that he plans to sue podcasters who made derogatory statements against the coloured community. Since then, McKenzie says he's become the victim of a political campaign driven by the EFF and also social media trolls. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
Minister Gayton McKenzie took to social media again last night to address supporters about the complaints submitted against him by political parties, saying the social media posts on which these have been based have been taken out of context. He says in some instances defamatory quotes and remarks are being attributed to him, when in fact he was calling out those who made them.
In my entire life, I have never called anybody the K-word. Never. Let them show me, you Gayton, you use the K-word when referring to that person. They can't.
Detailing his heritage and mixed ethnicity, McKenzie says to call him a racist is illogical.
Racism has a victim. Who's the victim? Who did I ever use the K-word to? That's the first thing they should prove.
In a post on X today, McKenzie has apologized for insensitive tweets of the past decade. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
And Australia will recognise a Palestinian state at the United Nations General Assembly in September. The news was announced by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese today. Australia's announcement comes as Canada, France and the United Kingdom are preparing to formally recognise Palestine at the meeting next month, joining a vast majority of UN member states. The Palestinian Authority, which controls parts of the Israeli-occupied West Bank, says the recognition of statehood shows growing support for self-determination of its people. Israel, which is under increasing pressure to end the war in Gaza, has said recognizing a Palestinian state rewards terrorism. Gold is trading at $3,358.93 an ounce. The rand is at 17.72 to the dollar, 23.83 to the pound, 20.63 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $66.67 a barrel.
Germiston heading towards Bedford View, accident scene, N3 northbound. This is near the Ilans interchange, causing heavy delays all the way from the Geldenes interchange, so avoid that route if you can. Also heading into the Joburg CBD bumper-to-bumper traffic on Main Reef Road between Production and Anderson.
It's been a fine Monday in Gauteng. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 20 and 21. The top story in EWN this hour, the presidency says much like the CODESA negotiations, which ushered the country's democratic dispensation, it comes as no surprise that some will opt out of the process.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. 702.
We're listening to you. You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide.
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 702 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. Happy Monday on this 11th of August, and welcome to it. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. There's a lot going on. It's going to be a very interesting week. So many stories happening in the news. We stay tuned to EWN for all of those updates. Coming up in the show, I want to really find out from all of you. Do you actually have hobbies? Like, as adults, do you have a life where you've created space for hobbies, things that you do for fun? And if you don't, is it because you don't have time? Is it because you don't have money? I'm curious to find out from you. And what are those hobbies you are doing and why? Because in this day and age, it's almost like, is it even possible to have such in your life when you are a busy parent and finances are not financing in this economy? I'd love to hear from all of you, because some of us seem to have traded joy for productivity. Movies and what to stream with Adelaide Moyeng. She joins us, founder of Movies and Stuff. Make sure you follow her on the socials and you can keep up with all of her work. Our travel feature for today, we're talking to Iga Mutelska, who is founder and editor of eagerjourneys.com. We're going to talk about cruising around the Mediterranean, which sounds so lovely. The second hour of the show, this is going to be an intense one. Have you ever been sleep shamed by your parents? Were you raised being sleep shamed? That's what we're going to talk about. Sleep shaming parents. Sikandar Kalla, who is a multi-award-winning clinical psychologist and founder of Cohesive Collaboration, joins us for that conversation. We'll tell you all about what sleep shaming is. Then we wrap up with the naked scientist. Dr. Chris Smith is back. We take all of your science-related questions. So get in touch with us. Give us a call. 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702. Tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702, using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
With Relebogile Mabotja.
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
I think I may have shared with all of you a good couple of months ago that I don't have hobbies. And I was trying to figure out if I do. And when I spoke to my team, like, what are the hobbies? They said to me, well, the problem is each time you get a hobby, you find a way to monetize it and turn it into work. So it's no longer a hobby. So now I am wondering about the people who do have hobbies. Like, when do you fit them in? What are your hobbies? And how do you decipher between, well, this is just part of physical exercise and this is a hobby? I know somebody whose hobby is making miniature doll houses. Like, you take the time to make the little furniture. You take the time to build the kitchen. And it's those doll houses that you open. I see that as a hobby. But the way my life is set up, it's like I'm either working or I'm momming or I'm sleeping. So if I were to say my hobby, it would be sleeping, but we all know that doesn't count. And in that, I would like to know what you get out of your hobby. Because I think I need to take on a hobby, something that is for fun, and maybe being the creative that I am naturally, some things end up not feeling like a hobby because there's a part of me that's a little bit competitive. Because it's like, now if I'm going to start painting, oh no, we're going to paint, But I think I don't know how to hobby. Abel, do you remember back in the day, I think it was Miss South Africa Teen, where they'd ask, what's your hobby? And the one lady said, I don't hobby. Finally, it applies to my life. I don't hobby. I don't hobby. So please advise me. Those of you that are hobbying, what are you doing? Is it reading books? Is it going out and exploring different flower markets every weekend? Is it even financially viable to be doing so at the moment? Is it something that's practical? Do people actually have time to take on a hobby? There are people who play golf. Okay, one person I know has hobbies is Clement Manyathela. He has many hobbies. And his life, he set it up beautifully in a way that he can have awesome hobbies. I'm seeing on my TikTok live, one person is saying, I'm 56 years old and I play soccer. That's their hobby. Another person, Queen, says their hobby is sports. They do karate. Ooh. I don't know. Like, I can't even think about what I would want to do as a hobby. And maybe I need to relook how my life is set up so that I can create hobbies. It's not even like I really go out that much, I'm going to be honest with all of you. But I want to find out, tell me about your hobbies. Give me a call. Tell me how you're affording them. Tell me how you're making time for them and what you're getting out of them. 011 883 0702 in the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
There's a song that goes, money can't buy me love. And that's true. But then they told us all you need is love, which anybody with a mortgage will tell you most certainly is not true. Love won't pay your parking tickets or your student loan. It's also needy. It requires effort, availability, constant care. But more importantly, love requires time. And while money can't buy you love, it can certainly free up some of your time. Time to spend on the things you love, with the people you love. And if you're looking, maybe even time to find the one you love. That's why, after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do the things you love. And don't you love that about investing? Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
At the heart of global conversations shaping our future, Africa's voice is more important than ever. As proud lead sponsor of the B20, the Standard Bank Group is honored to showcase the continent's growth, partnerships, and potential on the world stage. Because driving Africa's growth isn't just our ambition, it's our purpose. Tune in every Monday from 3 p.m. for the Standard Bank B20 In Brief for key insights and updates around the B20. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Every business begins with heart, but it thrives with support. And no one backs Gauteng's dreamers and doers like 702, Yoko, and you. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702 and Yoko are back to recognize and celebrate the local entrepreneurs making life better. From your favorite coffee spot to the baker who knows your name, from the salon that raised generations to the bold newcomer raising the bar. Just think of the business that made you feel seen. Now's your chance to say, I see you. I see you. Go to primemediaplus.com to view the categories and make your nomination. Because this province isn't just the hub of business, it's the home of excellence. And excellence deserves your applause. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Let Yoko Counter fuel your business to greatness. Go to yoko.com to explore the new point of sale solution, saving hundreds of businesses time and money.
Spend your afternoon
With Relebogile Mabotja.
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
16 minutes after 1 o'clock, we're talking about hobbies. And if you have any, can you afford a hobby? Is it costing you something? Or are you not hobbying because you don't have the money or you don't have the time? Somebody on my TikTok live says, hobbies are for people who went to private school. Guys, are hobbies really for people who went to private school? Honestly, 011 8830702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 Macintosh in Broadacres. Hi.
Hi, good afternoon, Malaiti. I hope you're well.
I'm good. Go ahead.
So my hobby is rifles. So I
Ooh.
started 15 years ago, took up the sport of hunting and just shooting rifles, and I enjoy it very much. I always say to people, I can shoot a pimple at around 300, 400 meters. That's how good I am at shooting. But when I started 15 years ago, we used to be able to pick up a box of bullets at around 200 Rand, and I used to shoot a lot. And the average cost for a rifle was around between 9,000 to 12,000. Now, the gun that I shoot the most, a box of bullets is 1,600. So I don't shoot a lot anymore. And average price for a rifle is around 20,000 because of the rand dollar exchange. Because bullets are imported and guns are imported, so it's very, very expensive.
So, if I may ask, what do you enjoy about it?
I enjoy the skill it takes to put a target at 200 meters and be able to engage the target. Funny enough, I used to play golf before that, and I'm very competitive. And if you're not thinking about that little ball, you hit it and it ends up between your legs. And one weekend I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I gave away my clubs and took up rifles. And I thoroughly enjoy the adrenaline it takes to shoot and the competitive nature, it takes to shoot a target far away. I mean, we finished hunting recently in the Karoo. And as a group of hunters, we said, a half a kilometer away, put a target and said, let's shoot it. And I was the only one who got it. And I was very, very happy.
You sound so proud of yourself, and I think that's such a great part of the having a hobby is it can also be like a confidence booster and be something so fun. We have some of your messages coming through on the WhatsApp line and your voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Lebo. Carmen here. As a hobby, I'm 49 years old. I roller skate.
Good afternoon, Relebogile. Gregory from Durban. Yeah, great show. So my hobby is running. I started running after a heartbreak and used to do fun runs, 5Ks, 10Ks. Now I have graduated to half marathons and even 42 kilometers. So I run for fun. Every Sunday we train with the club. And it's getting very costly now, the traveling and the races and whatnot. But I wouldn't change it for anything. It's addictive. I've lost 11 kgs and I'm preparing for my first comrades, in 2027. Yeah, that's my hobby.
Some of your messages coming through, I absolutely have hobbies. I paint and doodle, and it's mainly a way to just switch off from my own brain. Funny story is that, there is something that is happening that I'm unable to see the remainder of this message. Apologies. I will just try my absolute best to try and get it back so that I'm able to get it to you. All right. So they say, hi, afternoon, Relebogile. Thanks for a great show. My hobby is crocheting. I'm 39 with 3 kids. I take my yarn everywhere, school parking, at my son's soccer, and everywhere else, Lerato in Pretoria East. Another person is saying, does reading count as a hobby? I think it certainly does. Hi, Radio 2000. Correction, it's 702. But hey, you're on the right topic. I've been on retirement for 3 years and was forced to turn a hobby into a mini hustle as I just cannot cope financially. I make herb, flower, and succulent boxes to generate a bridging income. It is tough, this retirement thing. So sorry to hear that, but I'm glad that you're doing something about it. Sabrina says, I cross-stitch, and the reason I cross-stitch is because murder is illegal. It's my form of occupational therapy when life goes off kilter. Oh, another one says, I'm a hooker. I'm a crocheting hooker, is what they say. I can do it anywhere and watch a movie doing it, Suzette from Pretoria. Hi, Relebogile. I'm 64 and recently started doing bead bracelets, necklaces, and hanging ornaments. It was just a hobby, and someone offered me 500 Rand for one of my hanging ornaments, so I turned it into a business. Great show. Olivia says, Relebogile, I hobby. I'm a plant parent. That's from Olivia in Kempton Park. More of your messages. I paintball at 200 meters. You'd be shooting in the Olympics, my friend. I believe it when I see it, the target of the video footage. Oh, this is to the person who had called earlier. They're saying 200 meters. They clearly do not believe that. Chad in Joburg South. Lebo, my hobby is road cycling. I organize my hobby around my work, mommying, wifing responsibilities. I'm on the road cycling at 4:30 a.m. so that I'm at my kids' sport games by 9 a.m. I can't join a cycling club as a result, and I'm happy with that. I drive a little skadonk car that costs the same, maybe less than my bike, because I recognize that my hobby is expensive and I must sacrifice other nice life things to enjoy my hobby. Dumela Relebogile. I have a consistent line of hobbies, and it's been years I've been making time for them, intentionally so. I travel, whether to a nearby resort, Harties, a road trip once every other month, visiting my favorite spots like Kruger. I derive so much joy from seeing new places, Relebogile. Now I'm on a mission to visit every town in this country. Wow, every town in this country. That is a big one. I also gym 5 times a week. I read a lot. All of these are now only making me happier, but I realize they also heal me. That is D in the East Rand. I like that for you, D, so much. More of your voice notes coming through on 072 702 1702.
Hi there. I play the guitar and I sit and do covers of lots of things. I find them all over the internet and I put my covers on all over the internet. And the reason why this is my favorite hobby is because not only is it physically beneficial, playing the guitar for your physique, but also for your emotions. All your stresses get poured into the songs. Also for your breathing, fantastic, and also for your intellectual development because you have to remember the lyrics, you have to work out the chords. So it's actually a very good workout for one's whole body and mind. And of course, when you achieve any success, it is hugely beneficial for your ego and for promoting your self-worth.
Oh my goodness, you won't believe it. I'm 77 years old and I'm attempting my first adult Lego. It's a little 101 Dalmatian and it's driving me crazy. But I am going to persevere no matter what. Love your show.
Thank you so much, Lego. I never thought of that. Maybe because I am just traumatized by what happens when kids get their hands on Lego. They say those things when you step on them, you will see your ancestors at the exact same time because they're so painful. But I'm feeling so inspired by some of your messages coming through. One says, you're in South Africa when rifles are listed as a hobby. Abo Macintosh bazoslimaza, yes, as in they're going to hurt us. My ultimate hobby is food and it shows. Good afternoon, Relebogile team. Your ultimate hobby is food? Okay. More of your voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Relebogile. My hobby is running, and I ran my first comrades this year at the age of 52. And it's actually become a bit of an addiction because I'm going to run comrades again next year. And I love it.
Good afternoon, Lebo and all the 702 then. Lebo, hobbies are for people with money. You can't say you don't have money and you are busy playing. That's why a lot of people with hobbies, they turn them into a source of income one way or the other. But you can't go there and say you are just playing for free and there's nothing coming in. You are wasting time instead of using that time to get more money. Hobbies are for people who went to private schools, as the other guy said.
Guys, I refuse. Can I tell you why I refuse? Like my grandmother, my late grandmother, one of the things she would do is play snakes and ladders or Ludo. So after she would go outside and chop the vegetables in the sun, she would put the things on the stove and then she'd sit and play Ludo, play snakes and ladder. If nobody was there with her, she would be both players and play with herself. That's a hobby that doesn't cost any money. She was keeping herself busy. So I hear what you're saying because so many people have spoken about their expensive hobbies. Of course, golf is expensive. Anything that needs equipment or gear is going to be pricey. But I refuse to believe that hobbies require money. But I hear what you're saying, that if you have a free time to be hobbying, you should be using that free time to be finding money. If I can understand that that is what you are saying. One person says, my hobby is playing cards, dikarata. Oh my gosh. I feel like I went through that phase at some point, always playing cards. Relebogile, my favorite hobby is sleeping. Every little chance I get, I sleep. I'm one of those people who gets excited whenever the plans to go out are cancelled. That means more sleep for me. Are you maybe not like a bit burnt out? I mean, is that like a thing that sleep can be a hobby? I mean, I'm resonating with it right now, but that's because I'm just a bit underslept at the moment. A high level, I'm also retired and managed to turn my hobby of cooking different things into a small business. I used to cook chilies and give away bottles all decorated, and my sister told me your chilies are too delicious to give away. And that's when my business was born. Hi, Relebogile. My hobbies are gardening, reading, cooking, and collecting vintage audio equipment. Never had time whilst working, but now retired for a year. Your hobbies will be so much more interesting once you retire, so pursue them. Gardening is a simple, inexpensive one. You should try this to start off. A hobby like buying and selling audio equipment can also generate some income and it's fun. Okay, then I did used to have hobbies. Like I used to love going into antique stores. So I've got like a 1950s radio / LP player in the house. I've got I think this one is about 1960s bar that has a built-in mirror on the inside. I have those old school 1970s televisions in my house. So I think I did used to go through a phase of collecting those like old school music and TV related things. So maybe I must just go back to that. Hi 702 team, love to recycle old items into arty items for around the house and the garden. That's from Annika in Waltervreden Park. High level. My hobby is hiking. It costs very little and it's a great way to connect with nature and stay healthy, is what they say. Your last bit of voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Relebogile. My hobby is playing PlayStation. Once my wife and the kids have gone to bed, then I hop on. And because I'm a soccer coach as well, sometimes on weekends, I'll play online with some of the kids that I coach. And that also gives me the opportunity to assist them and also point things out as we are playing along, which can help them out with their actual game on the field. So
Hi, Relay. Now I'm a granny of 76 years. My hobby is hiking, the mountains, and also doing aerobics, but mainly vegetable garden that I started once I stayed home. So I'm really enjoying doing it, and I'm eating a lot of veggies, fresh organic vegetables from my garden. Thank you.
Thank you so much. D says, Lebza, I'm a chorister at church and play netball at work. Does that require money and someone from a private school, Batong? Some people really is what they say. Another one says, afternoon, my hobbies are collecting music. I just wish to have enough cash to have a collection of vinyls. Paul in Dobsonville. Oh, isn't that the ultimate? Like when you are a music lover, you want to have things on vinyl. Yo, guys, we need to hobby. We need Karabo. Why don't you hobby?
Hey, I try.
They said hobbying is for people who went to private
Oh, well, I
school.
guess I did go to a private school, so I fit in right there.
So do you hobby?
I try. I haven't done my hobby in a while because since winter started,
What is your
I've
hobby?
been gardening. I do.
Oh, yes.
I plant a lot of spinach. I plant a lot of veggies, but I haven't been doing that since winter started. But since summer is coming, I'm gonna prepare my soil.
I see you. I see. It's just after 1:30. Time for latest eyewitness news headlines. Good afternoon.
That's right, Relebogile. Good afternoon. The DA has unveiled a series of reforms to transformation policies, most of which are aimed at strengthening state-owned entities. During a media briefing in Johannesburg today, the party presented its alternatives to BEE, the Employment Equity Act and the Expropriation Act. While stressing that it's not against redress and transformation, the DA argues that these three laws are counterproductive. Party leader John Steenhuisen says fixing the public sector is a key alternative to these policies. The National Convention Organizing Committee says it hasn't been affected in the slightest way by the withdrawal of legacy foundations from the project. Last week, foundations including the Steve Biko, Chief Albert Luthuli, Thabo Mbeki and Oliver and Adelaide Tambo foundations withdrew from the preparatory task team of the National Dialogue. The organization cited the rush to host the gathering this week, compromising the nature of the event being citizen-led. And US President Donald Trump is expected to hold a press conference today to reveal his plans for Washington. Yesterday, Trump demanded that homeless people immediately move out of the city as he vows to tackle crime. Washington is run by the locally elected government of the District of Columbia under congressional oversight, but Trump has threatened to federalize the city and give the White House final say on how it is run. Those are the headlines. There's EWN and more at 2, or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving Germiston heading towards Bedford View, there's an accident seen on the N3 northbound near the Galdenays interchange causing heavy delays. There's also slow-moving traffic in the Fourways area. This is on Witkoppen Road approaching Cedar, while otherwise the rest of 702 lane not looking too bad. No serious accidents or major delays have been reported. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights, though. That's in the Edenville area, Modderfontein Road and Van Riebeck. Traffic lights also not working in Midrand at Olifantsfontein Road and the N1, as well as in Bryanston at Winnie Mandela Drive and Sloane. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
The temporary head of visible policing in the Moot district in Pretoria would not be so visible herself if she was patrolling the streets. According to a complaint by the Democratic Alliance, she's never worn a police uniform, has never been trained as an officer. Just a few weeks ago, she was behind bars, facing charges of fraud, corruption, and the abuse of the SAPS's Secret Service funds. Who will guard the guardians?
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Do not be fooled. Smoking kills. Across the globe, more than 8 million people die of tobacco-related diseases every year. During the broadcast of this radio advert, which is only 60 seconds, 16 people would have died from tobacco. Quit smoking and vaping. If you cannot resist this lethal habit, please protect non-smokers and children. Do not smoke or vape in public places or near children. Inhaling any tobacco product, whether through smoking or vaping, can cause cancer, birth defects, heart, lung, and oral diseases. All tobacco and related products are harmful to your health. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Health.
Okay, it's time. An employee review of my FNB Gold Business account. Okay. You give me 10 free transactions a month, and you even help me pay my banking fees using eBucks. Batung, unlocking more cash from my salon. Hey. No other card does this. You reward me so much, I want to reward you.
The FNB Gold Business account. No other card works harder for your business because your cash flow is worth it. FNB, help changes everything. TCs and earn rules apply. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and credit provider.
702 Movies.
25 minutes to 2 o'clock, movies and what to stream time. Today we're joined by founder of Movies and Stuff, Adelaide Moyeng. Find her on the socials and get in touch with us 011 883 0702 in the WhatsApp line 072 702 702. Let us know your movie recommendations. Adelaide, we were talking earlier about hobbies, and I think yours is quite obvious, but you've made it your job now. So if you've turned it
That is
into your
true.
job, is it still a hobby?
Honestly, I have that internal fight within me all the time, whether I can watch something for entertainment purposes or to actually critically break it down. It's a struggle. So yeah, I'm still borderlining on not knowing how to balance it out. But yes, I don't know. It's a struggle for me.
I hear you. I hear you. All right, let's jump into what we've got for today.
Yes, also happy belated Basari Day, happy belated
Thank
Women's Day to all of the
you.
ladies out there. I've tried to curate a little bit of somewhat shows and projects that are female led. So let's get into it. My first recommendation is a really lovely romance film. I'm thinking about couples. I'm thinking about ladies wanting to wind down after a long day. Some lovely romance. The first film that I'd love to recommend is My Oxford Year. So far, it's actually been number one for I think almost 2 weeks now on Netflix.
Is
So I
that
think that's
the
a really good start.
rom-com with the
Yes.
poetry student? It looks.
Yes, the one
It
with
looks
Sophia
like.
Carson. It looks good.
Wait. Here we are. It looks like that fluffy cliche rom-com that you're gonna judge, but you're gonna watch anyway and love it and be smiling
And
at the
finish it.
end.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking actually when I was looking at it. I was like, I might actually watch this week. But just to give everyone a synopsis, a rundown, it's actually about an American student who wants to fulfill her dream of actually studying at Oxford, the prestigious Oxford. And she ends up falling in love with this charming British man who also happens to teach at the very same school, which is Oxford. But he has a secret that, like the part in the trailer where we cannot see what the secret is hidden really well. So I really don't know what the secret is, but it's worth it. That actually has Sophia Carson, who a lot of people maybe may know from Descendants, which is like a Disney film, and also Corey Melcrest, sorry. He's actually from Queen Charlotte. He plays King George, just to refresh people's memories. Really handsome man, I must say. So I think that's the type of romance that I also like. I don't mind a corny romance. I don't mind fluff. I love it. I feel like now and again you just need, that type of romance in your life. So definitely a film I would recommend. She's actually doing quite well on Netflix. She also has another film on Netflix called My Life List. So I think she's also going to be one of those Netflix queens that have really good films in different genres, romance. I hope she delves into other genres, but definitely something I think people should look forward to, and it's really nice. It's on Netflix. It's already been there, so you can definitely catch it there. And then the next is going into a lot of series. We've got a couple of series that are dropping. The one that I'm really highly anticipating is the TV series, it's a limited TV series called Hostage, not to be confused with other different hostages on Netflix. But this is actually called Hostage, and it drops on the 21st of August. It's a political thriller that I think people might love because it's about a British Prime Minister who happens to be female as well. So stick with me. It's a long synopsis, but it's worth it, I promise. So the Prime Minister is a female, and also the French President is also female. They happen to be having, a summit within Britain. As that happens, they actually kidnap the British Prime Minister's husband, and they also threaten the French President at the same time. So these are two women who now have to try and negotiate with terrorists somehow. But obviously, the person that's on the line is her husband and her family. So you have to just try and see how they navigate through that. I think it's a very interesting take on a hostage situation that we haven't really seen through the eyes of presidents. So I think it's a really, really good show to get into. Like I said, it drops on the 21st of August on Netflix. It stars Suran Jones from Gentleman Jack, and also Julie Depley. I don't know if people are familiar with her work, but anybody who knows the Before trilogy that has Ethan Hawke, that beautiful 3-part film of those two strangers who meet in Paris. I think if anyone is familiar with that, then you would know exactly who I'm talking about. And like I said, it's female-led, and it really seems like a really good thriller, political thriller. I haven't seen one like that in a while, so definitely something to check out. And then also for sci-fi fans, I'm trying to cover everybody. This month, Comic-Con is also happening in Johannesburg, closer to the end of the month. What's dropping on the 13th of August is actually Alien Earth. Now, this is probably one of the most successful sci-fi franchises in the survival horror genre, I feel. There's been so many aliens done, but this is the first TV series. So I know a lot of people can get confused with it. There's been, I think, a total of maybe like 10 different alien films. 10 is a lot, actually. But
They are very
Alien
confusing.
Earth.
They are very
They
confusing.
are quite confusing, but this one is a TV series, so it is slightly separate from the films, and it's on a different timeline altogether. So you don't have to worry about having to catch up on the other Alien films to know exactly what is happening on this one. It's a separate standalone TV series, Alien Earth. It drops on the 13th of August on Disney Plus, and they also have given us the privilege of uploading all of the different Alien films as well, starting from the classic of 1979 up until Alien Romulus, which also dropped last year in 2024. So if you do want to do a deep dive, you can, but it's not necessary. Like I said, it's a TV show. It's a standalone, and it's basically set in 2120, which, you know, it sounds like it's something that is so out of date, but that's exactly what Alien will give you. And it starts off with having the first AI hybrid. It's a hybrid between a robot and a human being. And obviously, there is a spaceship that now lands onto Earth, and there are a couple of specimens in there, 5 specimens that are being added to this new world of Alien that might actually be more dangerous than the xenomorphs that we all know of from the Alien film franchise, which is quite scary because I'm already scared of that xenomorph as it is. But yeah, lots of great scenes. Like I said, survival horror is being covered. The visuals are quite stunning. I've had the privilege of just watching one episode so far, and it's looking really good. Going to watch the rest of it when it drops on the 13th of August. Yeah, so really good for the fans that want to have some suspense, some sci-fi, some survival horror, all of those wrapped into one. Definitely Alien Earth is something we should look forward to watching. And the next thing I would love to recommend, which I didn't really think they would ever do such a thing, but I'm really happy that they have. So Fit for TV, the reality of The Biggest Loser. I used to be so obsessed with The Biggest Loser, the show. For those who are not familiar, The Biggest Loser was a reality TV show back in the day where people would have to come onto the show and lose weight, and the person who loses the most weight would win $250,000.
Why do I feel like it was like $1 million? But I guess back then, 250,000 USD is still quite a lot of money.
It is, you would think. And the fact that it had 18 seasons, I didn't realize there were that many seasons back then. But I think it's interesting because it's going to be a documentary series where they actually interview the former contestants. So I would love to see, you know, what they were going through back then from their own personal view, and also how they are now. You know, you always wonder and think to yourself, where are these people now? Have they been keeping up? How did it affect them mentally? How did it affect their family lives? And so we get to, you know, go behind the curtain and see exactly how they came about with this very famous reality TV show and what the implications were, whether they are good or bad. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing what they would say. So definitely it's something I'm very interested in, and that's actually dropping on Friday on Netflix, the 15th of August. Really looking forward to that. Like I said, it's rare that we are able to actually catch up with people and see where they are now. So something to definitely look into.
Look, I saw some snippets of it, and I definitely want to watch it because it's fascinating. You know how our views on certain things have changed. There's certain things that we look at now that were happening back in the day that we're like, this is awful. It's almost like, you know, what happened on America's Next Top Model, where things were actually quite inappropriate. So it'll be an interesting one to watch, that one.
I totally agree, and especially now in the climate where we've got, Zempics and body dysmorphia topics. So those are the things that I really love for them to also touch on, to see what their perspectives are between what was happening then and now. I agree with you totally. Something that I'm really looking forward to. I'll rendezvous with you and tell you what I think about it. We'll talk about it when it comes out on Friday.
Okay.
And the next one is Fatal Seduction. Season 2 is dropping on Friday as well, on the 15th of August. Season 1 is already on Netflix, so if you'd like to catch up on that, you can definitely begin to do that. Season 2 continues with Jacob and Nandi's story. Nandi is played by Komoto Christopher, and Jacob is played by Prince. And so essentially, they now are embroiled in an underground... am I allowed to say the SEX word? Am I allowed to?
So an underground intercourses set up.
Thank you.
Adult
Yes.
engagements set up.
Thank you. So it gets a bit worse than what it was in the first season. I think the first season was fairly light, wasn't so intense, but it looks like season 2 is going to be way more suspenseful. And it's also being joined, the cast is also being joined by Warren Mosamela, which I enjoy his acting so much. I think it's going to be an interesting addition to the overall series itself. For those who are not aware, it's almost like a 50 Shades as well, if you're into something like that, but it's a TV series. And like I said, it's dropping on Netflix on the 15th of August on Friday. So it's definitely something that people can look forward to. And lastly, it's something that, it's new, but I always need to try and recommend new stuff, guys, and see how it lands. So on the 7th of August, a new show had dropped last week. It's called Gush Life, which is actually a new reality TV show on the world of drifting and spinning. So it actually follows 4 people who are car spinners, and it takes you through them having to navigate, doing such a dangerous job and also having their personal life. It actually is on Zanzi Magic, which is channel 161. It airs on 8 p.m. on Thursdays. So definitely look at that. It's something you need to just try out,
Okay, and I think you've given us quite a variety of options to check out. On the WhatsApp line, one says, Lebo, good afternoon to you and your team. They're in studio. Movie that I'm recommending to you guys, it's absolutely not for the faint-hearted. Fourth Kind, Savages, Interstellar. And then series to watch, Wayward Pines, Orange is the New Black, and Snowfall. I've definitely seen Orange is the New Black. And I recently watched Adelaide. I did not know that after Toy Story 4, there's a Buzz Lightyear film called Lightyear on Disney.
They had a separate one for him. Yes.
So I watched Lightyear and I was so sucked in. All because my son made me watch it. Now he wants to talk. I'm like, do you mind? So I got to check that out. But that's another one that we got to watch. But thank you so much for all the recommendations. We're going to have to leave it there. See you next time. Adelaide Moyang, follow her on the socials, movies and stuff. SA.
This week on Polytricking with Sidi Madia.
What's the best way for our electoral system to be?
In South Africa, we don't have very rigid requirements of anyone who becomes a parliament.
That's part of the problem.
If the party likes you and you have been a good member of a party, maybe you sing well, whatever you do, those are the changes we must make. Don't blame us for having done it that way, because we copied from others, but we didn't know that this system will not suit our particular context. And that is why now we have more poor people.
Dr. Brigelia Bam.
Listen to the full episode on primemediaplus.com. Polytricking with Sidi Madia on EWN. In touch, in tune, and independent.
Change is an unannounced visitor. It can derail you or delight you. It's pushy, inescapable, intriguing. Change is motivating. Change is action. Change has places for you to be. Change is opportunity. We always have our door open to it. For over 3 decades, we've been committed to seeking out the best investment opportunities for you, wherever they may be. 91. Investing for a world of change. 91 is an authorized FSP.
As a business owner, would you rather deal with stacks of slips at the end of each day or have recons done instantly? Introducing Yoko Counter, the new all-in-one payments and points of sale system that removes the guesswork, the paperwork, and the time drain. Taking your business from chaos to control, guesswork to clarity, giving you back time to focus on what truly matters. Visit yoko.com today to find out more about the simple yet powerful out-of-the-box solution with free built-in point of sale software.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
If you look at everything that's going on at the moment, would it be fair to say that the MPC's job of targeting inflation is more complex, perhaps, than it's been for quite some time?
There's been lots of speculation and rumors in the market that Reserve Bank and National Treasury is basically at loggerheads. The Treasury preferring a bit of a higher number to give them some leeway within the legal framework versus a pointed target, which is quite more difficult to attain.
Freddie Mitchell is the chief economist at Aluma Capital.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by ABSA CIB, equipping you with efficient and secure cash management solutions for your business. Your story matters. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
702.
Travel.
8 minutes to 2 o'clock, time for our travel feature for today. We're chatting to the editor of eagerjourneys.com, Igor Mutilska, about cruising around the Mediterranean. Oh, Igor, where do we begin?
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely amazing. So I've just gotten back from a 7-night and 8-day cruise around the Greek Isles and Turkey with NCL. And so we began in Athens and visited the Greek islands of Santorini, Mykonos and Rhodes, as well as Kuşadası and Istanbul in Turkey. And of course, we know that cruising is a really convenient and affordable way for South Africans to travel around the Mediterranean. And so in future, I would love to chat about each of the destinations we visited, what we got up to, how we traveled independently, the things that we saw, the things we ate, and just the experiences in general.
And I think what's so great about these types of cruises, Igor, and I'm seeing so many travel accounts, is the number of countries you get to stop off at without having to make it 7 different trips.
Exactly. And I mean, that's something that is so important, I think, especially for South Africans when we're traveling on a budget. Essentially, what you do is you buy one flight in and out. You don't have to worry about booking accommodation at various destinations. You don't have to worry about various connecting flights or inter-island ferries. It's really convenient. You just have to arrive, embark, and go off and explore. And I think that's something that South Africans really love. It's also really convenient because you unpack your bag once, you put everything into your cupboard, and then you just pack it again once you leave the cruise. So it's really convenient. It's also not as tiresome, lugging your luggage around from one destination to the next. You want to essentially relax and just make the most of your time, especially if it's limited.
Definitely. And I know there are so many options, but I'm pretty sure this one to the Mediterranean was a beautiful one. Which are some of the countries that you went to?
Yes, so we visited mainland Greece, Athens, and then 3 different islands, Santorini, Mykonos, and Rhodes. And what I loved about that is that there was a little bit of everything because, of course, when you go to Santorini, it's those whitewashed walls with the blue, beautiful church domes. In Mykonos, you've got those lovely, very narrow alleyways between shops and restaurants and cafes and bars that open up directly onto the ocean. So you've got the ocean lapping up at your feet as you're sitting and eating grilled seafood. In Rhodes, of course, you've got spectacular history, architecture, heritage. You've got a very old port town and fortifications and castles that were inhabited by various knights. So you've got a little bit of everything. You've got that Instagram-worthy photo for your new profile pic. You've got shopping opportunities, great dining, and obviously to satiate the nerd within and learn a little bit about what the Roman Empire or, the Turkish Empire is all about. And it was my second time in Greece, but it was my first time in Turkey, where we visited Kuşadası, which dates back to thousands and thousands of years ago. We know that Ephesus, for example, was mentioned in the Bible. And we also spent 2 days in Istanbul, and that was also a sensory overload of note. So it's a really convenient way for South Africans to see and do as much as possible. And I'd love to chat a little bit more in depth about that next time, perhaps.
Definitely, definitely. So now when you look at how cruising has gotten so popular, there's so many options available. What did you look out for when you were choosing yours?
Yes, I think it's really important to do your research, have a look at various cruise lines, what's available, which itineraries they do, whether they hit the destinations and countries you want to go to. Obviously, price point is really important, and it is becoming a really competitive market, so it's really good and easy for South Africans to be able to choose. I think budget is important. Something that I was really surprised to hear, Relebogile, is that South Africans love cruising so much that they're actually opting for longer voyages of around 10 days on average, whereas if you compare that to the average international traveler, they're traveling on a cruise for about 7 days. And so it just really shows you like how affordable it is. I think something else that's important to look at is like what kind of specials and deals are available, and whether you want something that is very family friendly, like I was on the Norwegian Viva, which has lots of activities, sports, games, arcades, and everything very family friendly. Or if you maybe want to go on a smaller boat that focuses more on science and researchers who are going to give you lectures about maybe some of the, nature-specific destinations that you might visit. So there's really a lot to consider. There's also something that's called wave season. And if someone really truly has their heart set on cruising, I think that's the best time to book a cruise, because essentially it's the cruise industry's biggest promotional period, and it usually runs from about January to March. So during this time, you have a variety of international cruise lines that offer really competitive deals. They're trying to outdo each other. And of course, this is to help you book for the upcoming sailing season and for years ahead of time as well. And so you can find really awesome deals like discounted fares. You might also get complimentary deals like onboard credits or drink packages for those people who really, really want to have an amazing time. You also get free Wi-Fi. You can also get cabin upgrades. And what I really like about NCL, and the reason why I mentioned it's very family friendly, is that very often they have deals where if mom and dad are traveling together, the third and the fourth guests, so the kiddies, stay for free. And I think that's something that most people would like to consider, and especially because there are so many family and kid-oriented activities on board as well. So if you really want to book, keep your eye open for that, because at the same time, you'll get some really good deals on popular itineraries, like going to the Mediterranean, which we know is one of the most popular destinations for South Africans, and also, traveling during peak times like European summer, for example. So that's a really good idea.
I think there's so many options that are available to us. Igor, when we do get the opportunity and we're connecting again, we can really get into detail of the different countries that you got to go to. And I really want to hear your honest opinion if popping in for one day feels like you truly were there or not.
Absolutely. I think that's really important to talk about. And I can't wait to pick up the conversation soon.
Igor Matilska, who is the editor and founder of eagerjourneys.com, on 7:02 afternoons. In the next hour of the show, we're going to have our parenting and parents feature. Now, were you raised by sleep-shaming parents? That's what we'll be talking about. Then your questions for the Naked Scientist. It's 2:00.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Monge Zikoko. The organizing committee behind the National Convention says the gathering this weekend is not the national dialogue, but will be a precursor to the main event. 1,000 delegates are expected to gather on Friday and Saturday at the UNISA main campus in Pretoria to discuss the themes of the national dialogue. In a briefing this morning, the committee announced that it is ready for the first convention this weekend, despite Legacy Foundation's withdrawing from the event. Convention spokesperson Reverend Zowato Nebutalu says the foundations did not withdraw from the entire national dialogue, but rather the preparatory task team.
The decision to withdraw from participating in the preparatory task team and the 15th August First National Convention does not represent a withdrawal from the National Dialogue Project.
The DA has released what it describes as a 6-point plan aimed at boosting the country's economy. The key priorities include eliminating wasteful government spending, tackling crime, and strengthening local government. According to the party, these issues are directly linked to the nation's sluggish economic growth. Speaking at a media briefing today, DA leader John Steenhuisen said the plan is centered on getting the basics right.
What we need to focus on doing is removing the roadblocks to growth and building a new superhighway towards growth and prosperity. Because every single day, people approach myself with stories about how they have been cut out of the economy. On a growing daily basis, myself and the DA and public representatives receive growing urgent appeals of the desperation that many South Africans are feeling. The fact that they do not have a job.
Staying on the political front, despite COPE's poor electoral performance at the general elections, the party says it believes it can recover lost ground. The party has appointed Teboho Lwate as its interim leader following Musiwa Lekota's decision to step back from politics. Lekota has been unwell and battling an undisclosed illness, prompting the organization to find an interim replacement. Alpha Ramashwana has more.
The COPE party received under 1% of the vote in the most recent general elections, resulting in the loss of its parliamentary representation. This was a sharp decline from its first election in 2009, when it received more than 1.3 million votes and 30 seats in the National Assembly. With leader Musiwa Lekota unwell and stepping back from politics, many believe the party will never bounce back. But newly appointed interim leader Teboho Lwate insists the party can and will once again appeal to South Africans.
We all remember that COPE was born from a refusal to accept betrayal on politics that led to this current state of affairs. That spirit is still alive. We want to earn your trust again, not with words, but with action. In the coming months, South Africans will see a COPE that is active.
COPE says its focus is now on the local government elections. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
In the Western Cape, Manenberg police are searching for the killers of a 30-year-old woman. According to preliminary information, an unknown number of suspects drove by in a vehicle, opening fire and fatally wounding the victim on Women's Day. The police's Malcolm Puji has called on the public to come forward with any information.
The circumstances and motive forms part of continued investigation. The suspects are yet to be identified and apprehended. We appeal to anyone with information to contact Crime Stop at 08600 10111.
And US President Donald Trump is expected to hold a press conference today to reveal his plans for Washington. Yesterday, Trump demanded that homeless people immediately move out of the city as he vows to tackle crime. Now, Washington is run by the locally elected government of the District of Columbia under congressional oversight, but Trump has threatened to federalize the city and give the White House final say on how it is run. Trump's move comes after a 19-year-old former employee of the Department of Government Efficiency, aka Doge, was assaulted in an alleged attempted carjacking in the city. Gold is trading at $3,352.96 an ounce. The rand is at 17.77 to the dollar, 23.86 to the pound, 20.66 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $66.83 a barrel.
Heading into the Joburg CBD, there's slow-moving traffic in Amalgam. This is on Main Reef Road between Production and Anderson Street. Also, accident scene still. This is in the Germiston area heading towards Bedford View. N3 North near the Haldenes interchange, slowing down traffic.
It's been a fine day in Gauteng. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 20 and 21. The top story in EWN this hour, the organizing committee behind the National Convention says the gathering this weekend is not the national dialogue, but will be a precursor to the main event.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
What are the matters that matter to you?
702 listens.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide.
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Six minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 702 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, and we are going to be jumping into our parenting and parents feature. I stumbled upon a conversation and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is me. And that is the concept of growing up in a home where you were sleep shamed by parents. And we'll delve into the context. We'll be joined by Secunda Kalla, who is a clinical psychologist and founder of Cohesive Collaboration. Then we wrap up with the naked scientist, Dr. Chris Smith, who will come through and answer all of your science-related questions. So get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702, using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Parenting and Parents
on 702.
Parenting and Parents time on 702 afternoons. Now, to give context to what I stumbled upon was a conversation happening online on TikTok where people were sharing stories. Some were saying, I cannot relate to the idea of being sleep shamed. And what they were referring to is the group of people who grew up in homes where you were not allowed to sleep in. It was frowned upon. We know that it happens commonly in many brown homes. And when I say brown, I'm referring to people of color. I think I have even mentioned it before when I was saying that as an adult, I absolutely struggle. And I hear my mom who'll say to me, why don't you just rest? I'm like, you never taught me how to. We were made to, my grandmother would come in and open the curtains. And the direct translation of what she would be saying is that a girl cannot be in bed, that the sun comes and basically makes itself known to your buttocks. That was the direct translation, right? And even if there was nothing specific to be woken up for, like, yes, there'll be chores, but is anyone going to die that there's a dirty plate in the sink? Now, it's only now, because that was so normal for many of us growing up, that we are older, that I realized for myself, hence it resonated so much, that there is a certain guilt that comes when you're resting. When you think, I need to sleep in, your body forces you to wake up. And at the same time, I look at someone like my mother who struggles with the concept of sleeping in. She cannot help herself. She will be exhausted. And I'll say, but why are you out of bed? Like, why don't you just rest? And there's this concept of, I need to I must clear up the house. So that's what the conversation is going to be around today. And that is sleep shaming parents. The parents who would not let you sleep in without a real legitimate reason. Whether you were 10 years old or 15 years old, you would not be, it was treated as a taboo that why should a child be sleeping in late? So welcoming for this conversation, I'm so excited to be joined by multi-award-winning clinical psychologist and founder of Cohesive Collaboration, Secunda Kalla, in studio. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me, and also good afternoon to all the listeners. I'm actually myself quite excited about this one. Sleep is a topic that I'm very, very passionate about. I've also had quite a history with different sleep dynamics, and over
Yes.
the past 10 years, I've been trying to optimize for it. So it's very, very interesting topic to me, and a very, very exciting topic as well.
As a parent right now, I look at sleep shaming as control. I see it as just a form of control where the hierarchy that we've been raised in of, children need to listen, be respectful, all of those things, part of it is control. And I was hearing some of the stories of people who, was sharing how, for example, there would be teenagers working jobs coming home at 3, 4 in the morning, and their mom would burst into the room at 6, like, you should be getting out of bed, take out the trash and things like that. And they were sharing like what the long-term effects of that has been on them. I know for myself, I struggle to rest. It feels like you are useless. It feels like I'm doing nothing because you were always encouraged to not rest. And then when you're done with your chores, you should be outside. So it's not even like get done with your chores and nap. It's go outside. When you come back in, it's now other chores. It was a whole thing. Can you just chat to us about, from your view, what do you see being the true underlying core issue when it comes to sleep shaming?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because you mentioned control, and I think to bring it to a place of empathy, often when we need a sense of control most is when we're most anxious about things, when we're feeling most overwhelmed, when we're feeling a sense of doubt. And I think often when parents try to control in this particular way, they're actually in some sense maybe trying to articulate that I have been anxious about how to navigate through the world, and I've been anxious of if I'm not functioning and firing on all gears to the best of my ability, then my life's going to fall apart. So it's always a lot of like catastrophic thinking. And I think people struggle to delineate and separate the monster in their head versus the monster in reality. And I think often there's the sense of if I just let myself relax and let things go okay, like just take some time, things are going to fall apart. And I think that control then is a way to try and mitigate that feeling of anxiety rather than tapping into where does this anxiety emanate from, and is it still fit for purpose right now? Are there actually monsters that I need to kind of mitigate right now? So I think if we take that empathy-based approach, we'll start realizing that often this emanates from a lack of self-awareness and emotional awareness as to what are the layers that's making me feel like I must dictate and prescribe what is the optimal way of doing things. When we know in most things in life, there's no objective truth in interpersonal dynamics and in the variabilities of human beings. And that what is fit for purpose for one person may not necessarily be fit for purpose for the next. And we see this even from developmental stages, because the younger you are, generally the more sleep you need, because at that particular time, you're dropping sensory stimulation and overload. Growth hormone is being released, you're consolidating memory. All of these things are happening, and these are essential functions. And I think that also is a big factor when it comes to the judgment of prescribing that certain things are character flaws rather than actually biological needs.
I just remembered also a woman, it was an African-American woman who was sharing something that I thought quite profound, because I'm sure many can connect to what she was sharing. But she was saying, if you notice, the reason our black mothers, brown mothers, they don't rest is because they don't know how to sit with their feelings and their traumas. So they have been taught, and it's also their defense mechanism, or whatever you want to coping mechanism rather, to keep busy. So that countertop, like my mom would say, that the tap in the sink, if the sink is not shining, you're not done washing the dishes. Little things like that. So as she was speaking, and I thought about my grandmother, I thought about my aunts, I thought about my mom, and I realized I don't see these people rest. I don't. And when that person attached it to the fact that, remember, they've been in survival mode for so long, what does the concept of rest look like? So now to tie it back to the control and the sleep shaming. now we know better. How do we undo? And let's even speak for the grandmothers that are there, the mothers that are there, because the reality is they shame their kids because they're shaming themselves. So where do we even begin to undo that?
Yeah. Really a process of unlearning and relearning. And it's such an interesting example that you've given, because I think that is how we set up expectations that start going beyond other domains of functioning. So it's not only parent-child, but you start finding this even in romantic relationships, where there's these expectations of, if my mother or my grandmother could do this, why can't you? And we don't realize that what was the cost that your mother or your grandmother paid.
Please repeat that again, because just because your grandmother or your mother or your grandfather or father could do it also doesn't mean that they should have done it, and doesn't mean that they were happy to do it.
Yeah. Or that it's consequence-free.
Yeah, because I think they were operating in survival mode. Now I feel like we, the millennial generation, we understand the things intellectually. Now we're trying to figure out how to apply them in real life. Like intellectually, I get the concept.
Yeah.
Now the part of just rest, I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah. Just rest? I should be doing something. Is the house gonna go on fire? And the reality is, whenever we would ask our parents, why are you stressing about what if visitors come? Like that was the threat. What if visitors come? Then why are visitors going into my room to see the bed is not made?
Exactly. It's such a, it just goes to show the irrational angst and anxiety of all of it. But, going back to the unlearning and relearning aspect and how best to navigate through that, I really think it comes down to two things. The first one is self-awareness. And then the second one is how to communicate things requires building a strong relationship from the get-go. That you're not going to be able to articulate certain things in more appropriate ways if there's no relational foundation to do that with. And I think with the sort of stratified, I'm the elder, you're the child, just listen, there's no opportunity to actually have a meaningful conversation to explain what are the pros and cons of things, which again ties in with the self-awareness. And it's why I was saying earlier that, yes, your grandmother, your mother could do this, but what were the cons? What were the consequences? And I think with everything in life, there's a set of pros and cons. And when we look at even things like personality, so there's the big 5 personality traits: openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Now, if you look at something like conscientiousness, which is usually seen as a desirable trait, so in the globalized world that we're in now, occupational success and this productivity culture is something we've been quite entrenched in at the moment. And I would say conscientiousness and in high conscientiousness and high intelligence are seen as the 2 biggest predictors of occupational success. So we generally look at things like scoring higher in conscientiousness is a good thing, but there's cons to that, because under each personality trait, there's also associated facets. So if you look at conscientiousness, it's competence, achievement striving, order, dutifulness, deliberation. Now, if you look at some of these things, you may say achievement striving is a good thing. I want to have quite high achievement striving. That makes me quite ambitious and I can grow and develop. But very high achievement striving creates perfectionism. And that perfectionistic inclination is where we start becoming even more and more hard on ourselves, where we can agree on certain things conceptually, but we struggle to sit with them experientially. So we all say, oh, self-care is good for you and time to relax is good. But we say that in theory. Experientially, when we have to sit in the feelings and the associated opportunity costs of it, we then start feeling quite a lot of difficulty with sitting in that because of that perfectionistic inclination. And if you're not aware of, how does my high achievement striving come with its own set of cons, how are you going to communicate that to your child or adolescent? Because you're just accentuating the pros and minimizing or dismissing the cons.
And I'm so with you on that one. We need to take a break. When we come back, we continue. I see your messages and your voice notes.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
The saga playing itself out in the Eastern Cape involving the Judge President Selby Menenge to see the need for such a policy. It's a 25-page document. What are some of the key elements to it, do you think?
It defines what sexual harassment is. And I think that is imperative, considering that a lot of people actually don't know how to define the term and they don't know how it can manifest in different ways.
Makatso Nchodu is a legal researcher and advocacy officer at Judges Matter, reflecting reflecting on the sexual harassment policy that was announced by Chief Justice Mandisa Maya.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
It all starts with FNB Private. Diversify your portfolio to grow your wealth. Gain global exposure through shares or unit trusts on the FNB app. Tap into international investments and tax-efficient offshore trusts to build your legacy. Unlock invaluable with FNB Private. Help changes everything. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSB and credit provider. FNB International Trustees, FNB IT registration number 3080. Licensed by the Guernsey Financial Services Commission to conduct fiduciary business. T's and C's apply.
Diabetes has become the leading cause of deaths in South Africa. Every hour, at least 3 people die of diabetes in this country. This means that in a year, we lose more than 30,000 people to this dreaded disease. This is a silent pandemic which requires active participation by all of us. You may be asking, what can I do as an individual? Limit intake of foods and drinks high in sugar and be physically active. Eat right for a better life. Foods high in sugar, fat and salt can lead to obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease and certain cancers. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Health.
Year in, year out, we're fixing tires faster than a Formula One pit crew. My team is on top of things like tire whisperers. If an unforeseen accident were to happen in my workshop, at least I've got My Way business insurance to keep the wheels turning.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Quantum science has the potential to shape South Africa's next wave of innovation and global competitiveness. This Wednesday, 702 Drive with John Perlman will be in conversation with Wits University's Professor Andrew Forbes as they unpack the country's quantum strategy and what it means for our future. We'll also explore the breakthroughs in quantum computing, imaging and photonics happening at Wits. Don't miss 702 Drive with John Perlman this Wednesday in conversation with Wits University from 3 to 7 p.m., shining a light on quantum futures. Wits for good on 702.
Parenting and parents
on 702.
22 minutes after 2 o'clock, we continue with our parenting and parents feature as we chat about sleep shaming. And interestingly enough, I see some shaming already happening on the WhatsApp line 072 702 on 702. And you can give us a call as well, 011 8830 702. Let me start with some of the messages. One says, Relebogile, I am sleep shamed by my husband. This man doesn't know how to sleep late and just relax. And I love to sleep in. It is recovery for the soul. Leave us alone to sleep, please, says Stacy in Lenasia. Another one says, my mom was clearly ahead of her time. She's now 80. Not once did she ever wake us up during school holidays unless we were going somewhere. I have 2 teenagers now and have never woken them up for no reason. It's sad that black girls in particular have been shamed like this. Another one says, sleep. My parents raised us to have the house clean by 7 a.m. When we were not going to school, they said, what if someone passes by? The one day someone passed by on the way to the airport, my parents were vindicated. It never happened again, but we still had to clean by 7 until we left home. Another one says, Relebogile, I'm doing catch up now. I was robbed of my sleep as a child, as a teenager. I'm in my 40s. Shem, my weekends belong to me, myself, and I. Hi all. When we were growing up, we weren't allowed to be up early. My mom would be busy with something and didn't want to deal with us around her, so she would chase us back to bed. Later, she would keep us busy at night so that we would not be able to get up early. Now that I'm grown up, my sleep schedule is all messed up. I can't get up early, so I'm late more often than not, and I can't go to bed at a reasonable hour either. Even when I try to correct it, it only lasts a while before I'm back to being a night owl again. Here are some of your voice notes, 072 702 1702.
Hi, Lebo and your guest, Alex here in Glen Hazel. So what an interesting topic. So my wife, who's a stay-at-home mom, falls into exactly that category. You know, we have a maid that comes in to do our cleaning like 3 times a week, so Monday, Wednesday and a Friday. But the days when the maid is not there, she is busy with everything, turning everything upside down. And I'm like, geez, what a waste. I mean, what are we paying the maid for? Can you just sit and relax and let her come through? And she won't sit. She won't relax. She feels guilty. And I didn't know there was a term for it until you brought in your guest today. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Bye.
Relebogile, I feel like you guys are now promoting laziness, actually. You're promoting laziness and are now demonizing our parents, whom always wanted to see the house clean. And now you guys are saying it's a coping mechanism. How do you know that it's a coping mechanism? Because they just want to keep a clean space. We have a problem of this generation of women. They are so lazy. They are so lazy. They're so lazy. You leave the house dirty, you come back, it's still dirty. They're just watching Netflix and chill all day. But they expect you as a man to bring something on the table. They are not doing their part. I'm not saying a woman belongs in the kitchen or anything, but I'm saying if you're in the house, at least do something. So I can't be promoting laziness now because we are not our parents. I feel like we're just promoting laziness.
Sir, if you want your house clean, get up and clean it. Full stop. Please can you address the fact of why rest is not laziness? Because this is exactly the shame we're talking about. And I feel like he's bringing his own other issues into this part of the conversation. But also stop choosing women that don't have an income then if you feel like she must be doing something in the house because you went to work.
Well, you see, I think this is where also being quite informed in from a self-awareness perspective, but also the current scientific literature, because there is some scientific literature that suggests on average women need slightly more sleep than men. And there's, like I said, that research is accessible. And that's the beauty of the information age that we find ourselves in, is that it takes some time to just pause the judgment a little bit, investigate what may be going on here, and then also start having more comprehensive conversations about it.
I love how you as the psychologist can say, pause the judgment. I'm like, no, stop judging. And the worst part is the girls in the homes are the ones that were deprived of sleep the most. It's not all homes where girls and boys were treated equally when it came to house chores. But I'm so glad you're saying that.
Yeah, and I also think, in any relational space, there will be expectations on both parts. But I think it's important to have a frank conversation about those expectations. And once you start with the judgment, you immediately you create the cycle of now what you may perceive as defensiveness, even though it may be a person explaining where they're at. So explanation seems like excuse seems like defensiveness, and then that continues to escalate the emotionality of the conversation. Whereas if you start off with a curiosity to learn and to understand what is going on here, and also, I think any relational space requires good faith on both sides. So you need the sort of good faith to say, my partner is not trying to intentionally make my life unpleasant. What is going on here? Let's understand it. And then equally so, there's a responsibility on the next person's side to say, I need some rest, but these are the expectations you have. How do we find a way to negotiate how we meet the expectations while simultaneously meeting levels of compassion and empathy?
And I think it's also normal to acknowledge, guys, some people can operate optimally at 4 hours of sleep. Others cannot. Some people need 10 hours of sleep. Let's quickly go to Nico in Naturena. Go ahead, Nico.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I was just saying it's not that girls were deprived sleep than boys. We were equally treated that way. Girls would wake up early to go to
so to go to the river and fetch water. Yes.
Yeah. And boys equally so would have to go by your hamadi komo, and then they should know that there must be milk. So those things you can't do it at 12 o'clock. So what sickens me about this generation of kids now is that they've got everything on the silver platter. But how I do with my boys. I tell them, guys, you want me to tell you to clean the yard? You want me to tell you to...
Sorry, Nico, can I ask you a question quickly? Can I ask you something? I get you're speaking about the fact that when we were younger, or your generation was younger, you had to go fetch water by the river. What did your parents struggle for if now you have taps in your houses that your kids still need to wake up early? This is the part I'm not understanding. What is it really about? Because I'm not saying houses shouldn't be clean, but why does it have to happen at 6 in the morning? Why at 6 in the morning?
No, it just teaches them. It teaches them discipline. That cleanliness is next to godliness. That's what I preach.
Okay,
that
so
wake up early, find something to do.
Hold on,
don't
Nico.
let
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you about cleanliness, but is the dirt going to now suddenly be green and moldy at 8 a.m.? I mean, imagine the high school kids whose brains need to absorb 6 subjects, and they're being woken up for cleanliness is next to godliness. Like, how does that make sense? What did our parents work for? Thank you so much, Nico and Nachiren. And I'm seeing so many messages, so I already know I'm going to have to ask you to come back. But just closing words, because already the conversation is riling up. I'm seeing some people, one person saying, I knew this was going to be about the women and girls. Hi, this must end. Our girls need to rest. And I'm seeing other messages saying, why are you guys trying to encourage laziness?
Well, I don't think we're doing that at all. I think at the end of the day here, what we're trying to communicate is you may have particular expectations, you may want to instill particular values, but you can do that in ways that are more preference-based in communicating what you need rather than prescription of it must be done in a particular way at a particular time. Sometimes the rigidity is not necessary. So I think if you want the place to be cleaned, and there is a way in which it can be cleaned without necessarily a hyper-prescriptive way that comes with a lot of cons. I mean, we see all the data that suggests poor sleep quality, low sleep duration is linked to so many different comorbidities and poor health outcomes. So we see it, especially, for example, glucose spikes and diabetes. So I don't think that we need to say it's a zero-sum game. It must be this, or you lose that, or you lose that. I think we can also say there is a way in which we can still instill certain values. So are you trying to instill discipline, achievement, striving, competence, responsibility, or are you trying to prescribe that when I tell you to do something, you must do it?
It's about control and obedience, but we're going to take an opportunity to have the conversation again because it also does bleed into interpersonal relationships, and I'll chat to my producer about that. I promise we will save each and every one of your messages and give you ample time, because the only explanation I need understanding on is why does it have to happen at that time of the morning? Why does it have to happen that early? That to me... let me say something controversial. Are you guys ready before we go to news, guys? It's almost like slavery in the sense that it's about control. That's what it is. If you think about torture methods, sleep deprivation is a torture method.
And I think the people doing that don't even necessarily think they're doing it from a malicious perspective.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, if you're prescribing unilaterally without having a conversation, the consequences will add up.
And again, our parents are not terrible people, folks. Yeah. They did the best that they could, but now we know better, so we're going to do better. We are super late. It's just after 2:30. Time for latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. The organising committee behind the National Convention says the gathering this weekend is not the national dialogue, but will be a precursor to the main event. 1,000 delegates are expected to gather on Friday and Saturday at the UNISA main campus in Pretoria to discuss the themes of the national dialogue. In a briefing this morning, the committee announced that it is ready for the first convention this weekend, despite Legacy Foundation's withdrawing from the event. Helen Zille's campaign to run as the Democratic Alliance's mayoral candidate for Johannesburg has received one of its most surprising endorsements from former trade unionist and political commentator Ibrahim Harvey. Harvey says the city is in its worst state of decay since its existence, and Zille's track record as former Cape Town mayor and Western Cape premier makes her one of the best suited candidates to arrest the decline. And Reporters Without Borders have condemned the acknowledged murder by the Israeli army of Al Jazeera correspondent Anas al-Sharif in Gaza, who the armed forces admitted had targeted. Israel accused al-Sharif of being a terrorist affiliated with Hamas. A Press Freedom Campaign group says he was one of the most famous journalists from the Gaza Strip and the voice of the suffering Israel has imposed on Palestinians in Gaza. Those are the headlines. There's EWN and more at 3 p.m. or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage in the Germiston area, slow-moving traffic due to an accident seen N3 South near the Galdenays interchange. Also heading into the Joburg CBD, slow-moving traffic. This is on Main Reef Road in the Amalgam area between Production and Anderson. Look out for those faulty traffic lights. Alex at Marlborough Drive in Far East Bank, as well as in Rand Park Ridge at Fairs Nodia and the N1 North. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
702 delivers
on the matters that matter to you.
My name is Olina, and what I love about 702 is the Clement Banyatela show. I didn't think that I would see Clement today.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts,
so we can deliver more on what matters to you.
702 listens.
Let's walk the talk.
They've saved your favorite jacket, prepped you for job interviews, and rescued your wardrobe more times than you can count. A great dry cleaner isn't just about spotless clothes, it's about reliability, care, and those little touches that make life easier. If there's a spot that's become your behind-the-scenes hero, now's your chance to say, I see you. Nominate your pick for Gauteng's greatest dry cleaner at primemediaplus.com, because Gauteng isn't just the hub of business, it's the home of excellence, and excellence deserves your applause. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702 powered by Yoko. Let Yoko counterfuel your business to greatness. Go to yoko.com to explore the new point of sale solution, saving hundreds of businesses time and money.
Unlock exciting bonus prizes when you top up your Betway account with a Betway Bucks voucher. From millions in cash and bonuses to extra bets and so much more, every top up is a chance to score big. Head over to leading retailers, including Pick n Pay, Checkers, Pep Stores, and Incredible Connection, and top up with Betway today. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
Dear Journal, day 3049 of trying to be an adult. I still haven't bought a recycling bin, so there's a mountain of cans in my kitchen that could collapse at any moment. Anyway, what's that saying about your home being a reflection of your mental state?
Got evicted from the family home? Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's like 570 Rand a month, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
Franchise your future with the vision to invest, the mindset to follow a proven system, and the drive to grow something of your own. Meet the minds behind smart investments and proven franchise success on Franchise Your Future with me, brought to you by Cash Converters on 702. Plus, you could win 10,000 Rand to kickstart your journey to franchise your future. Hit primemediaplus.com now. Then, every Tuesday from 1 p.m., catch Franchise Your Future on 702 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, brought to you by Cash Converters. Your money, your momentum on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. with John Perlman. John, happy Monday. What's coming up on your show?
Good afternoon, Relebogile. Good afternoon to all of our listeners. It's a very interesting story. The members of the band of Freshly Ground have gone back to Sony and FIFA to say royalties from Waka Waka, remember that, 2010, money generated by way of royalties was meant to go into a whole lot of projects on the African continent. The band is stirring up the pot and saying, well, heck, actually, we don't think any of that has been done. We'll talk about that at 10 to 4. SANDF short of money to look after helicopters, bonuses unpaid for soldiers who are out in the Eastern DRC, but they did have 34 million Rand for generals to go on a rather luxurious flight out to Cuba. Here we go again. We'll talk about that at 10 past 4 with South African National Defence Union head Pikkie Greef. And then, on a related thing, huge amounts of money in the many hundreds of millions are being spent on refurbishment by one of our pension agencies, part of government, public money again. They are refurbishing at huge cost a building they don't own.
Oh.
Which generally points to some rather dodgy business. That and a whole lot more. We'll try and see if we can find some cheery news in all of that as well. 702 Drive from 3 to 6.
I trust John Pullman and his team. Get in touch with him. Tune in from 3 to 6 p.m. John Pullman hosting 702 Drive.
702.
The Naked Scientist.
Naked Scientist time with Dr. Chris Smith. We take your science-related questions on 011 883 0702 in the WhatsApp line 072 702 702 at 20 minutes to 3. Welcome back, Dr. Chris Smith. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I am doing well, and I'm so excited to have you. I'm going to jump in with a question we're talking about in our parenting and parents feature for today. And this is around the concept that I didn't know the name for it, but I was introduced to the name, which was sleep shaming, around parents who would raise their kids by making them wake up early on like school holidays or weekends, and the parents who allowed their kids to sleep in. Now, some of the listeners feel like it is encouraging laziness, while others feel like it is something that they needed to rest at the time. I wanted to know your thoughts from a science perspective, particularly with your kids, let's say above 5 years old, up until your high school kids.
Body's timings really, really matter. It's one of the most important aspects of our physiology, our body clock. Getting enough sleep really, really matters. And there's no prescription for what the right amount of sleep is. It's the right amount of sleep that you need to take. And that changes over your life course. Little babies will sleep for 18 hours a day. Older people might need as little as 4 to 6 hours of sleep per night to feel rested, and then they catch up with some naps at other times. Adults might nap in the afternoon or take a siesta, but they usually get by on about 8 hours sleep. Whereas teenagers, they often sleep in quite happily till 10, 11 o'clock. I don't know about you, but I cannot do that anymore. I used to love sleeping in and waking up and it was mid-morning or something during my school holidays. I cannot do that anymore. I am awake at about 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's kind of both a blessing and a curse, isn't it? But it's part of the fact that as we age, our sleep requirements change. The other thing is that kids often stay up late at night because they might be doing things, talking to their friends. The curse of the mobile phone is also keeping kids up into the night, and that's a different story entirely. But the bottom line is you need a threshold amount of sleep to feel well rested, to grow. We do most of our growing when we're asleep, and our brain grows when we're young, when we're asleep. And as adults, our brain processes information when we're asleep and consolidates memories. So sleep is not to be underrated. We should never deprive someone of sleep, because people deprived of sleep, that's a recipe for ill health, both mental ill health, but also physical ill health. And it makes you fatter as well. If you are under sleeping, you are more likely to have hunger pangs, and you are more likely to binge on all the wrong sorts of foods. And there's really good evidence that being in a sleep deprived state makes you overeat chronically, and therefore you're more likely to carry too much weight. And sometimes an extra hour in bed, paradoxically, can cut down your hunger and can, by suppressing the hormone ghrelin, which comes from your stomach, make you lose weight. Who would have thought it? An extra hour in bed and shed a few pounds as well. So never underestimate the power of sleep. And I would say to parents who are sort of hoiking their kids out of bed because they've been naughty, doing it once or twice, probably a good idea to teach them a lesson about not overdoing it the night before. Doing it all the time, that might actually be maladaptive or harmful to their future development. So maybe let them have that extra hour in bed now and then.
All right, thank you so much for that one, Dr. Chris Smith. There's a question from Mongezi who says, what causes the monsoon season in Asia, which is sometimes quite devastating?
Well, hello, Mongezi. The monsoon is a weather system, and monsoons are strong storms, and storms are driven by energy. And the more energy there is in the atmosphere, the more likely you are to drive a storm. So if we take a hurricane, for example, hurricanes form over the Gulf of Mexico, what Donald Trump wants to rename the Gulf of America, down near Florida. You don't have hurricanes all year, you have hurricanes in hurricane season, which comes at the tail end of summer. Why? Because the sun shines on the sea, the sea warms up, the warm sea warms the air, and you get evaporation of warm air and water from the ocean going upwards, filling the air with energy and water. That's the recipe for a storm. So really it comes down to how much energy there is locked up in the environment, and particularly in the sea, at a given time of year. And that usually coincides with summertime, because summer is when the sun shines for longest and therefore puts the most energy into the ground, into the water, and into the atmosphere. And then you're going to get the greatest amount of driving for potential storm systems. So that's why we tend to have seasonal storms in certain geographies at certain times of the year.
All right, we're going to take a break. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Chris Smith. Get your questions in 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
If you want to know about the heart and art of jazz, look no further than the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival, a grand ensemble of over 50 world-class acts across 4 stages for 3 whole days. That's right, from the 26th, 27th and 28th of September. The Santon Convention Center will be demure and sophisticated as the fine Standard Bank Joy of Jazz 2025 takes you deep into the heart, the art and splendor of jazz. Take me there. Book your seat via Ticketmaster now.
Do you know what's hiding behind colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by 30 September.
We love rating things, our phones, our cars, but our health? Your health lets you do what you love with the people you love. So who are you staying healthy for, and how can you improve your health? Choose Dis-Chem Life, the life cover that helps you live a healthier, more rewarding, longer life with regular health checks. Visit dischemlife.co.za now. Dis-Chem Life. Choose a better partner for life. Dis-Chem Life is an authorized FSP 50594, underwritten by Guard Risk Life, a licensed life insurer, FSP 76. T's and C's apply.
Young professionals aren't just changing jobs, they're walking away from the system itself. This Thursday on 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, we'll bring you a discussion inspired by the Old Mutual Thought Leaders Forum and explore the growing loyalty gap in the workplace. We'll find out what's fueling the resignation wave, why traditional retirement benefits alone no longer buy commitment, and how employers can evolve to meet the needs of a generation that's demanding more. Don't miss this important conversation on Thursday, the 14th of August, brought to you by Old Mutual Corporate on 702.
702.
The Naked Scientist.
13 minutes to 3 o'clock. We continue with the Naked Scientist. We take your calls on 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. We have got a voice note.
Hi, Relebogile. I have a question for the scientists. Why do nose hair become long and prominent the older people get? Yeah, that's my question. Bye-bye.
What a great question. And the answer to this is it's not just nose hair. Other bits of our body do become hairier with age. This includes ear hair, for example, and other areas of your body. Chest hair can continue to increase as you get older. And obviously in some parts of your body where you don't have hair when you're little, but you get hair when you're older, that hair grows more. And also, as you get older, can thin out more. So hair is a dynamic thing, and different parts of the body grow more or less hair at different ages. But the big driver are hormones, and those include testosterone. And the more testosterone you have, the more hairier you tend to be on things like your back and your chest and in your nose and in your ears. You'll know that it's really men who have hairy ears and hairy noses, women not so much. So it's almost certainly down to a driving effect, a growth or stimulatory effect of testosterone. And the longer you're exposed to testosterone, the more this reinforces the growth of the hair from those follicles and makes it more robust and also lengthens the growth phase. because the length of any hair is determined by how long the hair grows for from its hair follicle before the hair follicle goes into a resting phase and throws the hair away. And testosterone exposure and androgens, testosterone-like chemicals in the body, tend to prolong the growth phase of those hair follicles in the nose and ears and other bits of the body, making the hairs longer and thicker, and therefore you tend to notice them more.
All right. Thank you so much for that question. One says, hi, Relebogile, I have a question. If you slept in a room with no clocks or windows or outside cues, how would your body know when to wake up?
This is a brilliant question to the extent that scientists have already done the experiment. There were people who were sleeping in caves completely divorced from any kind of external cue, because our bodies are really sensitive to external stimuli from which it can take a time signal. Light is the most powerful, and our eyes have in the back of them special cells which are sensitive to especially blue light, which connects to a region of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus in your hypothalamus. And this is your body clock. It's the master clock which keeps time, but that also receives inputs from other things like your stomach. When you feel hungry, you know that you get hungry at certain times. You can set your body clock via those cues. Physical movement, when you get up and move around, also helps to have a setting effect on the body clock. If you divorce people from all of those sorts of stimuli, light, noise, temperature changes, food and so on, and you just allow people to equilibrate with their surroundings, what you find is that the clock, it ticks along at about 24 and a half hours. And what I mean by that is that the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock in your brain, is a cluster of 20,000, 30,000 nerve cells that are running a genetic program. And there's a gene that turns on. That gene turns on a second gene, which in turn turns on a third gene, which feeds back and turns off the first gene. It ticks like a genetic domino effect. And as those genes turn on and off, they change the activity of the nerve cells, and that nerve activity pattern is then relayed around the body to other bits of the brain and also other bits of the body through hormones, which is what tells all our tissues when it's time to wake up and when it's time to feel tired and go to sleep. But it doesn't tick around perfectly in sync with the day. It's a bit longer than a day. And for that reason, people's body clock slowly drifts, and they still keep time, but they don't keep time perfectly in sync with a human Earth day. And this is why you have the ability to reset your body clock via your eyes and those other cues and signals I mentioned, because otherwise you'd end up waking up in the middle of the night thinking it was daytime, and it's not. And this is why you have a relatively good clock, but it has the ability to be reset, and thank heavens, because otherwise every time you flew on an aircraft across time zones, you'd be perpetually jet lagged, wouldn't you? So the experiment has been done. People's body clocks just wander, adding half an hour to an hour or so per day, and so they're still keeping time, but their clocks slowly go out of sync with the day that they started in. And some blind people who have eye problems that mean they can't see any light, they also have the same sort of problem. So they entrain their body clocks by using an alarm clock and keeping a rigid daytime, nighttime cycle to make sure that they stay in sync. And that way they don't feel unwell and jet lagged because they're waking up at the wrong time, in inverted commas, for their body clock.
So, doctor, then how does what you've just shared enlighten us on the concept of darkness therapy, where people will go into a retreat and be in the dark for 3 weeks, 3 days up to 2 weeks, where they are in a pitch black environment, no clocks, no nothing, their food gets brought to them, but they do that for mental health healing reasons?
Well, I don't know if it's so much about the body clock as the fact that one of the reasons why people get stressed in the modern era is because they've got all kinds of things assailing them. Phones are beeping, emails are arriving, letters are turning up, demanding things, people are asking you to do things, the phone is ringing. And if you take yourself away from all that excess stimulation and just relax, you have a chance to tune into your environment a bit more, tune into your own body a bit more, and detune away from all these fairly toxic stimuli and wake up and arousing signals. The other thing is that a lot of the screens that we use, that we tend to look at late at night, one of the things that people tend to do, and Facebook know this because they're logging what we all do. Many people look at their Facebook page and their Facebook profile just before they go to bed. How are they doing it? Usually on a very bright screen, on a tablet or a smartphone, for example. These are LCD screens. They're lit by LEDs, and they put out a lot of blue light. So the signal that's going into your brain is wake up, it's morning, when in fact it's nighttime. And this can actually put people off of going to sleep by half an hour or so, and you lose sleep. And so we're all becoming chronically sleep deprived as we have invaded the night, because we have artificial light and smartphones and other distractions. So sometimes divorcing yourself from all of this, and some people say they do it by going camping, because you're in the middle of nowhere and you have to tune in with nature, digitally detox yourself. And one of the reasons people find this so restorative is because they get a good night's sleep for the first time in ages, because they don't have all those digital distractions.
All right, thank you so much for that one. So there's a question here which says, Relebogile, please ask the doctor, is there any correlation between singing and the state of being inebriated? Why do people who mostly sing when they are drunk? I never thought about that ever.
Well, it's all about social disinhibition, isn't it? One of the things that alcohol does to us is it acts as a disinhibitor. It activates the nerve pathways that reduce brain activity. So it's a depressant, and it can depress our inhibitions. The kinds of social constraints that would normally hold us in check and stop us misbehaving, they tend to be set free by having a drink. And if you are worried about public humiliation, you are worried about what people think of you, you become more disinhibited and therefore more confident with a small to a certain amount of alcohol. And this may include singing. And for some people, the prospect of standing up and talking in front of people, or heaven forbid, singing in front of people, it's the worst nightmare. Asking me to stand up and sing in front of people scares the life out of me. Talking in front of people, no problem at all, but singing in front of people frightens the life out of me. My son can do that with his eyes closed, no problem. I'm terrified of that. Have a drink, though, and you think, well, who cares? And you tend to be a lot more confident, a lot more complacent, and a lot more disinhibited. And so that's why you tend to see those sorts of behaviours, singing being one of them. But it's a sort of public display of activity, drawing attention to yourself, which normally you would worry about doing under certain circumstances. But when you're a bit disinhibited, less so.
All right, this one I think you can give me in 45 seconds. Doctor, it says, is there a negative effect on young kids if they sleep more during the day and are awake and playful the good part of the night?
Well, there can be, can't there? Because if you're awake all night but asleep during the day, you're not having meaningful interactions with your family, with your friends, because you're, say, on a device all night. You might be sleepier during school lessons, so you can't learn properly, and you might even be more prone to having accidents if you fall off your bike or walk out in front of something in the road and get run over. So much better to try to maintain good sleep health and sleep hygiene, getting enough sleep and at the right sort of time.
Dr. Chris Smith, I have not forgotten your homework, which is to tell me the experiment on individuals that lost weight without doing any exercise. So all they did was think about exercise and they lost weight and were toned, but we're back together next week.
Dear Journal, trying to be an adult day 3731. I'm really struggling to explain my parents to my therapist. Might send him to live with them so he can see for himself. What if he ends up in therapy too? Wait, what if they love him more than me?
Finally learning about mental health. Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's convenient and like 19 Rand a day, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct to give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Relebogile is on X @Relebogile M.
Thank you so much for joining us on 702 Afternoons. Don't forget, if there's anything you want us to chat about or even follow up on, 702 Afternoons at 702.co.za. That's 702 Afternoons at 702.co.za. Head over to the website primemediaplus.com, not just so that you can catch up with our conversations, and of course you can also download the app Prime Media Plus, but also so that you can nominate your favorite, those that you support in Gauteng, those small businesses that will truly get to benefit from being having a spotlight shone on the amazing work that they are doing. Thanks for joining us. Back tomorrow. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
First leg of costly national dialogue will go ahead, and Steenhuisen calls for action against Gayton McKenzie over alleged racism. Good afternoon, I'm Mungi Zikoko. The organizing committee behind the National Convention says the gathering this weekend is not the national dialogue but will be a precursor to the main event. 1,000 delegates are expected to gather on Friday and Saturday at the UNISA main. Announced that it is ready for the first convention this weekend, despite Legacy Foundation's withdrawing from the event. Khomotso Modise has more.
The National Convention Organizing Committee says the first convention this weekend should not be confused with the main national dialogue, which will run for months in over 4,000 wards in the country. Each ward will host 3 dialogues and discuss the themes which will be agreed upon this weekend during the convention. The committee spokesperson Zone Butalu says 1,000 delegates will gather at UNISA's main campus this weekend.
Faith-based is an example. Women, youth, people who work with children organizations. Political parties will also be represented. Organs of state, like your Chapter 9 institutions.
Nebutalu says the delegates will be transported from different parts of the country for this weekend's gathering. Khomzo Modise, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
DA leader John Steenhuisen is calling for action against Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie following allegations of racism against him. During the past weekend, old posts from McKenzie's ex-account resurfaced showing him using racial slurs directed at black people. Although McKenzie has apologized for some of the posts, Steenhuisen says his past remarks are unbecoming of someone who claims to serve the public. Alfara Moshwana has more.
DA leader John Steenhuisen says there should be consistency in addressing Patriotic Alliance leader Gayton McKenzie's past use of racial slurs, seemingly drawing a comparison to how the party dealt with its former MP Ronaldo House. He was removed from Parliament and expelled from the DA after old racist social media posts resurfaced. Steenhuisen insists McKenzie should not be exempt from accountability and that South Africans must demand action against him.
There does need to be consistency with how we handle these things in South Africa. You shouldn't be able to get away with saying something because you happen to be a minister, but an ordinary MP or somebody else says the same thing and is dealt with accordingly.
While McKenzie has apologized, he maintains that some of the circulating screenshots are AI generated and do not reflect his views. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
Staying on the political front, Helen Zilla's campaign to run as the Democratic Alliance's mayoral candidate for Johannesburg has received one of its more surprising endorsements from former trade unionist and political commentator Ibrahim Harvey. Harvey says the city is in its worst state of decay since its existence, and Zilla's track record as former Cape Town mayor and Western Cape premier makes her one of the best suited candidates to arrest the decline. While acknowledging the inequality across the city, he says it's no coincidence that the metro is the best run in the country. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
In a weekend opinion piece, the left-leaning author Ibrahim Harvey, who penned former President Kgalema Motlante's autobiography, says he believes former DA leader Helen Zille has the attributes required to turn the City of Gold around. Zille recently made her intentions known to vie for a second mayoral chain, but the party is yet to make its choice.
When you make such an objective assessment, I think objective, you've got to be non-racial, anti-racist in your views, and I really think, and I believe it, that she's probably the most formidable, confident person.
He's also drawn parallels between inferior apartheid-era education and the way in which cities are being managed.
There is a historical link between competency, skills, and race, color, and ethnicity in this country.
Harvey says the ANC has lost the ideals it once strove for to better the lives of citizens. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
In the Western Cape, the Bishop Lavis community says it won't back down in its fight for justice for 5-year-old Xavier Mitchell. A memorial march was held in the area on Saturday to highlight the lack of progress in the case against the man accused of his murder. Last Thursday marked 1 year since the little boy was stabbed to death while in the care of his nanny. Shortly after the murder, police arrested a man believed to be a relative to the nanny. But the case against Mervyn White has been dragging at the Bishop Lavis Magistrates Court. Bishop Lavis Crime Prevention Forum's Graham Lyndhurst says Xavier's family feels let down by the justice system.
The family would like to thank the community that came out to support them, especially on Saturday. They really appreciate it. All they're looking for is for answers, but answers is not forthcoming.
And Reporters Without Borders has condemned the acknowledged murder by the Israeli army of an Al Jazeera correspondent, Anas al-Sharif, in Gaza, who the armed forces admitted they had targeted. Israel accused al-Sharif of being a terrorist affiliated with Hamas. The Press Freedom Campaign group says he was one of the most famous journalists from the Gaza Strip and the voice of the suffering Israel has imposed on Palestinians in Gaza. Yesterday, Qatari broadcaster Al Jazeera said that 5 of its journalists had been killed in an Israeli airstrike. Al-Sharif was one of the channel's most recognizable faces, working on the ground in Gaza, providing daily reports in regular coverage. Gold is trading at $3,355.80 an ounce. The rand is at 17.78 to the dollar, 23.86 to the pound, 20.66 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $66.98 a barrel.
In the Devland area heading towards Eldorado Park, we still have roadworks causing heavy delays on the Golden Highway. That's between the N1 and Union Avenue. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in Bryanston, Winnie Mandela Drive and Sloane. Traffic lights also not working in Rand Park Ridge at Bears, Nodia and the N1 North.
In your sport, Siya Kolisi started number 8 for the Springboks Rugby Championship opener against the Wallabies. Gwena Mapaga breaks world record in the Proteas T20 defeat to Australia. And Crystal Palace lose their appeal against their demotion from the Europa League.
It's been a fine Monday for Gauteng. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 20 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the organizing committee behind the National Convention says the gathering this weekend is not the national dialogue, but will be a precursor to the main event.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Very good afternoon, everyone. It is 8 minutes past 3 on Monday, the 11th of August. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you're listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. Good weekend. Hope you had one. Good start to the week. Hope it's going well. As our soldiers battle for the money they owed from service in the Eastern DRC, and helicopters can't fly to the Eastern Cape for lack of maintenance and spares, news has emerged that the SANDF has spent 34 million rand on a luxury flight for generals and others to Cuba. Surprised? Probably not. Shocked? Well, there's only so much shock that we can all take. What is the Soldiers Union Sandu saying about this? Head of the union, Pikkie Kreef, joins us after 4. Some other things on the go. How can a government agency spend millions on upgrading a building they don't even own? Easily, it would seem. Sikonati Manchancha from News 24 has been digging into this. The perception of South Africans moving around within the country is people in Gauteng, if they can, move to Cape Town. Well, that's not the way the flow's going. At the moment, it would seem semigration seems to have changed direction. How much and why? We'll talk to Nadia Okamp, who's a broker and owner at the state agency Remax Elite. And we ask you this question. Do you remember this song? Of course you do.
This time for Africa. Samina, mina, eh, eh. Waka, waka, eh, eh. Samina, mina, sakalewa. Anawa, ah, ah. Samina, mina, eh, eh. Waka, waka, eh, eh. Samina, mina, sakalewa.
Waka Waka was played millions of times during 2010. It has been played probably many more millions of times ever since. But what happened to the royalties? The agreement, as it was widely understood, was that royalties would be used to benefit various organizations on the African continent. That's a question being asked by the band Freshly Ground, who were part of that Shakira hit, part of the 2010 celebrations. We'll talk to Simon Atwell from the band. That's coming up at 10 to 4. We've got all that and a whole lot more on 702 Drive, including breaking news, news from the roads in our regular traffic updates, and the latest from the markets. The All Shares down today by around 425 points, still above that 100,000 point mark, but a sharp fall in resources today. The Foschini Group is down by 3.95%. Not a mining company, of course, but Sibanye is weaker by 3.8%, and Harmony is down by 3.75%. The rand's trading at 17 rand 78 against the dollar. A euro will cost you 20 rand 66, and the rand is currently trading at 23 rand and 86 cents against the pound. The price of Brent crude today is up by $1.20.